Welcome to the new video. A cold September morning in 1944. Within the gray walls of Dachau concentration camp, a woman kneels, preparing to take her last breath. Her face is unrecognizable. Months of torture have shattered her body, but the light in her eyes hasn't faded. A Nazi officer aims his gun, and in that moment, a single word escapes the lips of this small Indian woman: Liberté, freedom. This is the story of Noor Inayat Khan, the story of how a Sufi princess, a musician, a children's book author, became one of the bravest spies of World War II. And trust me, this story will shake you to your core. If this is your first time on this channel, we uncover heroic stories buried in the dusty pages of history. Hit the subscribe button to join this journey and never miss a story. Also, don't forget to like the video. Let's begin. Now let's travel back in time. The year is 1914, Moscow, Russia. The world hasn't yet awakened to the horrors of World War I. Right in the middle of this chaos, on January 1st, 1914, little Noor is born. But this is no ordinary birth. Her father, Hazrat Inayat Khan, belongs to one of India's most respected Sufi families. He descends from Tipu Sultan. Yes, that Tipu Sultan, the legendary tiger who defended Mysore against the British. Her mother is Purani Amina Begum, an American woman born as Ora Ray Baker, raised by the desert winds of New Mexico. East and West meet in this little baby's veins. When your father is a Sufi master, life is a bit different, of course. Hazrat Inayat Khan was no ordinary religious figure. He was one of the pioneers who brought Sufi teachings to the West. He gave lectures across Europe, performed music, and guided those on spiritual journeys. Little Noor grew up in this atmosphere. There was no violence in their home, no shouting, only music, poetry, meditation, and above all, love. Father Inayat Khan constantly repeated one thing to his children: never harm anyone, approach with love, but never ever stay silent in the face of injustice. These words were engraved in little Noor's soul. She didn't know it yet, but years later, these words would lead her to the dark streets of Nazi-occupied Paris. In 1939, the family moved to France. They settled in Suresnes, near Paris. This would become the European center of the Sufi movement. Noor grew up here. She attended French schools. She learned to play piano. She played the harp. Yes, that massive instrument resembling angel wings. As her delicate fingers danced across the strings, no one could have imagined that one day those hands would transmit secret radio messages. Noor's childhood was like a fairy tale. Their home in Suresnes was called Fazal Manzil, meaning House of Grace. Games in the garden, music in the living room, stories told by her father in the evenings. But like every fairy tale, this one had a dark chapter. In 1927, Father Inayat Khan traveled to India for a visit. He never returned. A heart attack took him away. Noor was only 13 years old. Her father's death deeply affected Noor. Her mother, Amina Begum, was devastated. She fell into depression. She was left alone with 4 children, and Noor, as the eldest, took on a heavy burden. She was no longer just a child. She became a young woman who cared for her siblings, supported her mother, and held the family together. This responsibility matured her, but it didn't kill the sensitive, artistic spirit within her. Noor attended Paris's most prestigious schools. She studied child psychology at the Sorbonne. She received musical training at the École Normale de Musique, and she began writing. She wrote children's stories. She adapted the Jataka tales, ancient stories about Buddha's previous lives. Noor translated them into language children could understand. Her stories always had the same theme: courage, sacrifice, the victory of good over darkness. It was as if she was writing her own future. Picture 1930s Paris for a moment, the city of lights. Artists, writers, musicians on every corner. Noor became part of this world. She wrote stories for children's programs on Radio Paris. Her voice reached French homes over the airwaves. Little children fell asleep to her fairy tales. During this time, she also got engaged to a Jewish pianist, but the relationship didn't work out. They separated. Her heart was broken, but life went on. And then came 1939, the year that changed everything. In September, Germany invaded Poland. Britain and France declared war. World War II had begun. Noor's peaceful world was turned upside down. Think about it for a moment. You're a 25-year-old woman. Your whole life you've been taught to stay away from violence. You've studied Sufi teachings. You avoid killing even a fly. You're vegetarian because you don't want to harm living beings. And now the world is burning. Nazi armies are crushing Europe. What do you do? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Noor's answer was surprising. She remembered her father's teaching: never stay silent in the face of injustice. She could refuse to use violence, but she also refused to stay silent. She found a way. In June 1940, as the Germans approached Paris, Noor fled to England with her family. They boarded one of the last ships from Bordeaux. They left everything behind: their home in Suresnes, their memories, their lives. But Noor left something else behind: her old self. When they arrived in England, Noor made a decision. She would join the war. But how? She didn't want to hold a gun. She didn't want to kill, but she wanted to help, to make a difference somehow. In November 1940, she joined the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, the WAAF. There she received training as a wireless operator. She learned Morse code. Those delicate fingers were now playing a different instrument: the radio transmitter. And this is where Noor's true journey begins. Her performance in the WAAF caught attention. She was extraordinarily talented with wireless equipment. Her language skills were excellent. Her French was native level. Her English was flawless, and she knew German too. One day there was a knock on her door. The person standing there was no ordinary visitor. They came from the SOE, Special Operations Executive, the secret organization Winston Churchill created to set Hitler's Europe ablaze. If you're wondering what the SOE did, let me tell you. This organization sent agents into Nazi-occupied countries. They organized sabotage operations. They supported resistance movements. And one of the most dangerous jobs was being a wireless operator. Because the Germans had detector vehicles, they tracked radio signals. The average lifespan of an operator was 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Then they were either captured, escaped, or killed. This was the mission offered to Noor: to return to Paris, to work as a wireless operator in the occupied city, to build a bridge between the resistance and London. If captured, torture and death awaited. If she accepted, she would have to say goodbye to her family, perhaps for the last time. Do you know what Noor did? She didn't even think about it. She accepted. A difficult decision, isn't it? If you're enjoying the story, subscribe and like. But what was behind this acceptance? Why was she so determined? Why did she rush toward this risky mission? The answer lies in her past. France was her home. She loved Paris. She grew up there, dreamed there. And now that city was being crushed under the Nazi boot. People were being deported. Jews were being rounded up. Freedom was disappearing. Noor couldn't stand by and watch. There was also this: Noor was Muslim, of Indian origin, a brown-skinned woman. She represented everything Nazi ideology considered an inferior race. In Hitler's world, there was no place for her. And Noor knew this. This war was her war too. This freedom was her freedom too. SOE training began. Basic training at Wanborough Manor, spy techniques at Beaulieu, code writing, cipher breaking, secret meetings, evading surveillance, using false identities, and, of course, wireless operations. Noor struggled with some aspects. She wasn't good at lying. Her face gave everything away. The instructors were worried. One report stated, "This woman is not suitable for the field." Another said, "emotionally unstable." But Noor had something no one could deny: incredible determination and a brilliant talent for wireless work. Her fingers danced through Morse code. She sent messages quickly and flawlessly. And most importantly, she kept her cool under pressure. The SOE made a decision. It was risky, but they would send Noor, because Paris desperately needed wireless operators. The Germans were about to bring down the Prosper network. Operators were falling one by one, and Noor was a talented operator who knew French and knew Paris. Perhaps not perfect, but the best available option. June 16, 1933, Noor boards a Lysander aircraft. These small planes dropped agents into France under cover of darkness. Noor's code name was Madeleine. Her false identity was Jean-Marie Renier. She would pose as a nanny. In reality, she would be the wireless operator for the Physic network. As the plane took off, Noor looked out the window at England. Perhaps she was seeing these lands for the last time. She didn't know. All she knew was one thing: darkness lay ahead, and she was ready to walk into that darkness. I'm ending this part here. In part 2, I'll cover in detail Noor's difficult days in Paris, how she evaded Nazi hunters, the betrayal, and her capture. Subscribe and like now. We'll continue with part 2 right away. Welcome back to part 2, everyone. We're continuing our story without slowing down. The Lysander aircraft descends. Below, the dark fields of France stretch out. Under the moonlight, a few figures are visible. Resistance members. They're marking the landing strip with flashlights. The plane touches the meadow, shakes, and stops. The door opens, and Noor Inayat Khan takes her first step onto Nazi-occupied France. The date is June 17, 1943, and this moment marks the true beginning of one of history's bravest female spies. What's going through Noor's mind as her feet touch French soil? Fear? Excitement? Perhaps both. But to an outside observer, she appears as just a calm woman. She approaches the resistance members waiting in the darkness. Passwords are exchanged. Everything is in order. Noor is now Madeleine, and Paris awaits her. The first days are chaotic. Noor initially stays at a farm near Le Mans. From there, she needs to reach Paris. But entering the city isn't that easy. German checkpoints are everywhere. ID checks, luggage searches, suspicious interrogations. One mistake, one wrong answer, and it's all over. Noor memorizes her false identity, Jean-Marie Renier, a nanny. If she needs to talk about family, her story is ready. Every detail has been planned. But plans stay on paper. Real life is different. She finally arrives in Paris, and the city shocks her. This isn't the Paris she knew. The city of lights has gone dark. German soldiers patrol the streets, Nazi posters on the walls, black swastikas on red backgrounds at every corner. The windows of Jewish shops are shattered. Some doors display yellow stars. People walk looking straight ahead. No one makes eye contact. Fear is everywhere, in the air, in the stones, in people's breath. Noor goes to her first contact point. She needs to meet Francis Suttle, the leader of the Physic network. Suttle's code name is Prosper. The network is known by this name as well, the Prosper network, one of the largest SOE operations in France. They organize sabotage actions, distribute weapons, coordinate resistance groups, and Noor will become a critical cog in this massive machine. the wireless operator, the only link between London and Paris. But by the time Noor arrives in Paris, things have already started going wrong. The Prosper network faces the threat of exposure. The Germans have been watching the network for some time. They're tracking radio signals with detector vehicles called seismograph. 3 black vans constantly roam the streets of Paris, rotating antennas on rooftops. When they catch a signal, they triangulate toward the source. They could be at your door within minutes. Noor knows this. The SOE taught her during training. The average lifespan of a wireless operator in Paris is 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Within that time, you're either captured, you escape, or you die. The statistics are brutal, but Noor doesn't care about statistics. She's going to do her job. She sends her first wireless message to London. Everything is fine, safe in Paris. She starts working. Messages flow, coordinates, meeting points, weapon delivery locations, sabotage targets. Noor's fingers dance on the transmitter keys. Every message is vital. Every message can save a life or cost one. If you're enjoying this story, subscribe and like. Thank you. And then disaster strikes. Late June, the Prosper network collapses. Francis Suttle is captured. Along with him, dozens of agents and resistance members. The Germans got information from an informant, or perhaps they cracked the codes. No one knows for certain, but the result is the same. The network is shattered. London sends Noor a panicked message. Come back. Get out of France. It's too dangerous. We can arrange a plane to extract you. Noor's answer is short and clear. No, I want to stay. Why does she stay? Because she's now the only wireless operator in Paris, truly the only one. The others have either been captured, fled, or died. If Noor leaves, the connection between London and Paris will be completely severed. The resistance will go blind. Weapon supplies, coordination, intelligence flow, everything will stop. Noor can't risk that. She decides she'll stay no matter what. Isn't that incredible courage and heroism? Is this decision her death warrant? Perhaps, but it's also the beginning of her legend. The summer months pass like hell. Noor is constantly on the move. One night here, the next night somewhere else. She never stays at the same address for more than 2 nights. She carries her transmitter in a suitcase, a heavy suitcase, heavy enough to raise suspicion. But Noor solves this too. When carrying the suitcase, she looks like a tired nanny. No one suspects anything. She finds safe places to transmit, sometimes empty apartments, sometimes the homes of resistance members, sometimes even parks. A suitable spot to extend the antenna, a few minutes of safe time, and she can reach London. But every transmission is a gamble. German detector vehicles are everywhere. If a transmission lasts more than 5 minutes, alarm bells start ringing. Noor develops a technique. She prepares her messages in advance, encrypts them, and when it's time to transmit, she sends them as fast as possible. Her fingers are incredibly quick. Her trainers may have underestimated her, but now she's Paris's most effective operator, alone, in enemy territory, dancing with death. One day she nearly gets caught. German soldiers knock on the door of her building. Routine check, they say. In Noor's room is the transmitter, inside the suitcase. If caught, death awaits. Imagine that moment. The door is knocked, heart pounding, seconds to act. What do you do? Noor keeps her composure. She shoves the suitcase under the bed, opens the door, smiles. Yes, she's a nanny. Yes, she's staying here temporarily. Yes, her employer's address is such and such. No, nothing suspicious. The German soldiers glance around the room. They don't see the suitcase, or they don't search. They leave. Noor closes the door, takes a deep breath. Alive. She escaped this time. These kinds of moments happen dozens of times throughout that summer. Each time, death is one step away. Each time, Noor somehow slips through. Luck? Skill? Perhaps both. London is impressed with her. This small woman alone is keeping the entire Paris network alive. SOE officials give her the nickname Bang Away Lulu because her transmitter never goes silent. She constantly sends messages, coordinates, intelligence, warnings. Resistance movements survive thanks to her. But the danger also increases. The Germans are aware of Noor's existence. They know the name Madeleine. They recognize her wireless signature. Every operator has their own unique hand, the way they press the keys, the rhythm, the speed, like a fingerprint. And the Germans are looking for Madeleine's fingerprint. Noor knows this. She tries to be more careful. She changes transmission locations more frequently. She shortens transmission times even further. But she also has to do her job. New messages every day. New risks every day. September arrives. The leaves turn yellow, and the shadow of betrayal approaches Noor. René Gary, remember this name, one of the people Noor trusted in Paris, an SOE contact. Noor occasionally stays at her home. She trusts her, but René has a sister, Raymonde, and Raymonde is a jealous woman. She's jealous of Noor's beauty, her elegance, her mystery, perhaps more. According to rumors, both women are interested in the same man. This man might be an SOE agent or a resistance member. What's certain is this: Raymonde hates Noor. And Raymonde does something terrible. She goes to the Gestapo. She gives them Noor's address. What does she get in return? Some sources say 100,000 francs, a small fortune in that era's money. But beyond the money, this is pure betrayal, selling a human life for a few pieces of paper. October 13, 1943. The Gestapo raids the apartment where Noor is staying. The door is smashed. Noor is inside. The transmitter is on the table. No escape. But Noor doesn't surrender. She fights. Yes, this elegant woman, this Sufi princess, this children's book author, physically struggles with Gestapo agents. She scratches, bites, kicks. She resists so violently that several agents are injured. They finally overpower her. They handcuff her. But this struggle is recorded in German files. Noor is marked as extremely dangerous, an unusual description for a woman at that time. The Gestapo takes her to their headquarters in Paris, 84 Avenue Foch. This address has a terrible reputation, the place where SOE agents are interrogated and tortured. Those who enter rarely come out alive, and those who do are never the same. The interrogations begin. The Germans want information from Noor, names of other agents, meeting points, passwords, codes. Noor doesn't say a word. They torture her, still silence. They threaten her, no answer. Noor is like stone. She gives the enemy nothing. Don't forget to subscribe and like for this heroic woman. But the Germans discover something else. In Noor's suitcase are copies of all her messages, every message she'd sent up to that point. This is a complete violation of SOE protocol. Operators are supposed to destroy messages after sending them, but Noor had kept them. Perhaps she thought she might need to account for them someday. Perhaps she was simply a meticulous record keeper. Whatever the reason, this mistake gives the Germans invaluable intelligence. The Germans use these messages to try to deceive the SOE. They send fake messages from Noor's transmitter. Madeleine is safe, they say. Operations continue, they say. This game works for a while. London is fooled. But eventually, the SOE grows suspicious. The security codes in the messages are missing or wrong. They realized Noor has been captured. At Avenue Foch, Noor tries to escape twice. The first time, she attempts to flee through the roof. She's caught. The second time, she tries to climb down from a window with two other SOE agents. During an air raid, they're caught again. After each escape attempt, the punishment becomes harsher. These escape attempts infuriate the Germans. They find Noor uncontrollable. They no longer want to keep her in Paris. In November 1943, they transfer her to Germany, to Pforzheim prison. There, she's registered as a Nacht- und Nebel prisoner, night and fog. This category is reserved for the most dangerous political prisoners. Isolated cell, hands and feet in chains, complete deprivation of human contact. Noor stays in this cell for 10 months. 10 months in darkness, alone, chained, not enough food, no clean water, no human dignity. But Noor doesn't break. She scratches a series of words into the wall of her cell, French words, and a message, Liberté. For 10 months, she doesn't say a single word to the Germans. She gives no names, no codes, nothing. This silence is incredible. Most people break within days under torture. Noor endures for 10 months. Physical pain, loneliness, hopelessness, none of it makes her talk. And this is where we see her true greatness. Noor isn't just a brave spy. She's also a person utterly committed to her principles. Sufi teachings guided her not only to stay away from violence, but also never to stray from truth. And Noor upholds this principle even under the darkest circumstances. One of the guards at Pforzheim, in testimony given after the war, speaks of Noor. She had become very thin, he says. You could see her bones, but her eyes still shone. She never broke. I admired her. These words come from the mouth of the enemy. Even a Nazi guard acknowledges Noor's courage. That says a lot. But the story doesn't end here. September 1944 arrives. The Allies are liberating France. Paris is free, but Noor is still in Pforzheim. And as the Nazi regime lives its final days, it shows its most brutal face. September 11th, 1944. Noor and 3 other female SOE agents are taken from Pforzheim. They don't know where they're being taken. A train journey, then trucks, and finally the destination, Dachau. Dachau concentration camp, one of the symbols of Nazi brutality. This is a death factory. People are exterminated here, burned, forgotten. And Noor enters these gates, her body weakened, but her spirit unbroken. The morning of September 12th, 1944, Noor's final morning. In the third and final part, I'll tell you about Noor's last hours at Dachau, that unforgettable final word, and the legacy she left behind. The story of this woman who gave everything for freedom will deeply move you. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe and like the video. Now we're moving on to the final part. Welcome back to the final part. Let's continue right away. September 12th, 1944. Dawn is about to break. The cold air of Bavaria cuts to the bone. The gray concrete walls of Dachau concentration camp emerge like ghosts through the mist. No birdsong. Even the wind seems to have fallen silent. Only the distant barking of a dog and the creaking of iron gates can be heard. Inside the camp, there's movement. 4 women are being taken from their cells. 4 British agents. 4 heroes. Hands tied behind their backs, faces pale. But there's a strange light in their eyes. It's not fear. Acceptance? Defiance? Perhaps both. And among them, one stands apart from the others. Small in stature, brown-skinned, so thin you could count her bones. Tortured for 10 months, chained, kept in darkness. But there's a nobility in her bearing. Unbroken, unbowed. This woman is Noor Inayat Khan, codename Madeline, great-granddaughter of Tipu Sultan, daughter of a Sufi master, and in a few minutes, a name that will go down in history. The 4 women walked toward the inner courtyard of Dachau that cold morning. Every step could be the last. Every breath could be final. Every thought could be the end. Beside Noor are 3 other British women. Yolande Beekman, 42 years old, born in London, worked as a wireless operator in Paris. Eliane Plumen, 27 years old, served as a courier in Marseille, and Madeleine Damermont, 29 years old, an unfortunate agent captured the moment she set foot in France. All SOE members, all fought for freedom, and all will share the same fate this morning. But among them, Noor has suffered the most. 10 months alone in Pforzheim prison, hands and feet in chains, a cell that never saw sunlight, not enough food, no clean water, no human contact, beaten repeatedly, interrogated repeatedly, and she never said a word, never gave a single name, never shared a single code. For 10 months she stood like stone. The camp commandant, SS Hauptsturmführer Friedrich Wilhelm Rupert, awaits them, a man with cold eyes, no expression on his face. He's already witnessed the deaths of thousands. What difference do 4 more women make? Several other SS officers stand beside him, all in black uniforms, all representatives of death. The women are taken to the inner courtyard of Dachau that cold morning. Every S, the execution ground. How many people have lost their lives on this soil? Thousands, perhaps tens of thousands, and now 4 more women will be added to that number. How painful and horrifying, isn't it? Unfortunately, this is one of the cruelest aspects of war. They're ordered to kneel. The women kneel. Noor kneels too. Her weakened legs must be trembling, but there's no fear on her face. According to witnesses, she's calm, even peaceful, as if meditating, as if somewhere else. Perhaps she is. Perhaps in that moment, Noor is thinking of the house in Suresnes, the stories her father told, her mother's face, her siblings' laughter. Perhaps she's imagining the bright streets of Paris, or perhaps she's thinking of nothing, just being in the moment. The executioner raises his gun. He stands behind Noor, a few steps away. No escape, no salvation, just the final seconds, final breaths, final thoughts. And at that very moment, a word escapes Noor's lips, a single word, but a word powerful enough to split atoms, a word that tears through the silence, etched into history, destined to echo for eternity. Liberté. Freedom. The gun fires. Noor Inayat Khan, 30 years old, in the spring of her life, falls onto the cold ground of Dachau. Her small body lies motionless, but that word hangs in the air. Freedom. The Nazi executioners hear it, the SS officers hear it, and in that moment, perhaps for an instant, they feel the weight of what they've done. Or perhaps they feel nothing, because they've long forgotten what it means to be human. But history doesn't forget this moment. There are witnesses. They will speak after the war, and Noor's last word will be told for generations. So why did Noor choose this word? Why the French liberté? Why not the English freedom, or a word in Urdu? This question matters because the answer tells us who Noor was. Noor was of Indian origin. Her father was from India. Her mother was American. She was a British citizen, but her soul was French. She grew up in Paris. She ran through the streets of Suresnes. She dreamed along the banks of the Seine. She attended French schools, made French friends, thought in French, dreamed in French. France was her home, and now she was dying for that home. Liberté is also the motto of the French Revolution. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. Liberty, equality, fraternity. These words are the foundation of the Republic. The Nazi occupation had trampled these values. Noor had fought for these values, and with her last breath, she proclaimed them. There's also a symbolic dimension. Nazi ideology viewed Noor as Untermensch, subhuman, of Indian origin, Muslim, a woman. According to the superiority of the Aryan race, Noor's place was at the bottom of society. In Hitler's world, she didn't even have the right to live. And yet this woman deemed inferior was shouting freedom in the face of a Nazi executioner. Even in her final moment, she wasn't submitting. Even in her final moment, she was defending human dignity. This is one of history's most powerful moments of protest, an unarmed, chained woman on the verge of death defying the greatest empire. After the war, a German guard who served at Dachau is interrogated. He describes Noor's execution. "She was very brave," he says. "She never begged, never cried, never asked for mercy. She just said that word, Liberté, and then the gun fired." The man pauses. "You couldn't help but respect her," he continues. "We killed her, but she defeated us." Courage that even the enemy respected. This says a lot about Noor. She had no physical strength, no weapon, no army, but she had spirit, and that spirit was invincible. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe and like. Now, let's go back a bit. Let's examine in more detail how Noor arrived at Dachau and her final hours, because these details are important parts of her story. September 11, 1944, Pforzheim prison. Noor has been here for 10 months. Her cell number is unknown, but the conditions are clear. Solitary cell, no window or a very small one, hands and feet chained, 1 or 2 inadequate meals per day. Registered as a Nacht- und Nebel prisoner. This category was reserved for the most dangerous political prisoners, prisoners with no return. That day her cell door opens. Guards enter. "Get ready," they say. "You're being transferred." Where? They don't say. Noor has no strength to ask anyway. She knows her questions have gone unanswered for 10 months. She's loaded into a vehicle with 3 other women. They're taken to Karlsruhe railway station. From there, a train to Munich. Can the women talk to each other during the journey? Probably not. Guards are with them. But perhaps they communicate through their eyes. Perhaps they give each other strength. From Munich to Dachau by truck, a short distance, half an hour perhaps. And then that gate appears. Arbeit macht frei, it reads. Work sets you free. The mocking slogan of Nazi camps. Proof that millions passed through this gate and never came out. What does Noor feel as she passes through this gate? Fear? Acceptance? Anger? Perhaps all of them. Perhaps none. She's experienced and exhausted every emotion over 10 months. Only one thing remains: dignity, and no one can take that away. Inside Dachau is like hell. Weakened prisoners are forced to work, bodies piled up, disease everywhere, the smell of death in the air, smoke rising from the crematorium chimneys, a brutality that the human mind struggles to understand. The women are kept separate from the general population. They're taken to a special section. They'll wait here. For how long? They don't know. Why? They don't know that either. They just wait. That night is spent in the cells, Noor's last night. How did she spend it? Did she sleep? Was sleep even possible under those conditions? Perhaps she closed her eyes for a few hours. Perhaps not at all. In Sufi tradition, death is not an end. It's a transition. The soul separating from the body and returning to its source. Die before you die, the Sufis say, meaning kill your ego, overcome yourself, reach the pure soul. Noor was raised with this teaching. Her father, Hazrat Inayat Khan, had told her many times, death is not something to fear, just a door. Perhaps Noor prepared for this door that night. Perhaps she meditated. Perhaps she prayed. Perhaps she spoke to her father in her mind. "Father, I'm coming to you," she might have said. "I did my duty. Now it's time to rest." Or perhaps none of that. Perhaps she just sat in silence, looked into the darkness, and waited for morning. Morning comes. September 12, 1944. The cells open, the women are taken out, led to the courtyard, and you know the rest. Liberté. Now, let's look at what happened after Noor's death, because the story doesn't end there. The war continues for a few more months, but Nazi Germany is on the brink of collapse. The Allies are advancing on every front, Soviets from the east, Americans and British from the west. Germany is melting between two fires. April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler commits suicide in his bunker in Berlin. May 8th, 1945, Germany surrenders unconditionally. The war in Europe ends, but the true horror is only then revealed. Allied soldiers begin liberating the concentration camps. Dachau is liberated by American soldiers on April 29, 1945. When the soldiers enter, they freeze at the sight before them. Bodies everywhere, prisoners on the verge of starvation, piles of bones, items made from human skin, gas chambers, crematoria. These images are traumatic for the soldiers too. Some will never forget that day. The camp's records are examined. Who entered, who left, who was killed, and in these records, Noor's name is found. September 12, 1944, execution, along with 4 women. Noor's family is in England during this time. Her mother, Amina Begum, her siblings, Vilayat, Hidayat, and Keru Nisa. Throughout the war, they received little news from Noor. The SOE provides the family with minimal information due to secrecy requirements. They don't know where Noor is, what she's doing, they just wait and hope. After the war ends, the investigation begins. The SOE tries to learn the fate of its agents. Vera Atkins, the intelligence officer responsible for the organization's female agents, leads this investigation. The woman is extraordinarily determined. "We won't leave any of our agents behind," she says. "At the very least, we'll find out what happened." Vera Atkins travels across Europe inch by inch. War criminals are being tried, witnesses are interrogated, documents are examined, and slowly the fate of the missing agents emerges, including Noor's fate. In 1946, Vera Atkins goes to Dachau. She examines the camp records. She finds Noor's name, date, time, method of execution. Everything is recorded. Nazi bureaucracy documented its own crimes. This news reaches England and is delivered to the family. Noor is dead at Dachau on September 12, 1944. When her mother, Amina Begum, receives this news, she's devastated. She had already lost her husband at a young age. Now she's lost her daughter too. 2 losses, both early, both painful. Amina Begum will never be the same again. When brother Vilayat Khan receives the news, he makes a vow. "Noor's story will be told," he says. "The world will know her." And he dedicates his life to this purpose. He collects Noor's letters, photographs, memories, works to have books written, gives interviews for documentaries. Vilayat Khan continues this mission until his death in 2004. In 1949, King George VI of England makes a major decision. Noor Inayat Khan will be awarded the George Cross. This is the highest courage award that can be given to civilians, the civilian equivalent of the Victoria Cross, an honor given to very few. Noor's family is at the medal presentation ceremony. Her mother, Amina Begum, is there, old, fragile, but proud. Her daughter is being recognized as a hero. This provides some consolation, only some, because no medal can replace a lost child. That same year, France also honors Noor. She's awarded the Croix de Guerre. Her service to occupied France is recognized. Noor is now the hero of 2 countries, perhaps 3, because India also claims her. The courage of a woman of Indian origin becomes an inspiration for India, which is fighting for independence. But Noor's story doesn't reach wide audiences for decades. During the Cold War years, intelligence operations are sensitive subjects. SOE archives remain classified. Agents' identities are protected. Noor's name is known only in a narrow circle, among history enthusiasts and intelligence experts. The situation changes in the 2000s. Archives are opened. New research is conducted. Books are written. Shrabani Basu's book Spy Princess is published in 2006 and brings Noor's story to wide audiences. Documentaries are made. Noor's name starts appearing in the media. In 2012, a great honor comes. In London, at Gordon Square, a bronze bust of Noor is erected. This is the first memorial to an Asian woman erected in Britain. Princess Anne attends the unveiling, a crowded ceremony, intense media attention. Noor is no longer just a name in secret files. She's a hero everyone knows. The plaque beneath the bust reads, Noor Inayat Khan, G.C., 1914–1944, British secret agent, served in France during World War II, executed at Dachau. A short text, but what a great story lies behind it. In 2020, another step is taken. The Royal Mint of the United Kingdom issues a commemorative coin bearing Noor's portrait. This is the first Asian woman to appear on British currency. Its symbolic importance is immense. Noor is now recognized as an inseparable part of British identity, British history. Noor is not forgotten in India either. Her story is taught in schools. Films are made. A biographical drama is released in 2019. Young generations learn about Noor, and they feel proud. Now I want to tell you about the legacy Noor left behind and the lessons we can learn from her. Because this story isn't just an event from the past. It carries lessons for today and for tomorrow. Let's subscribe and like the video for this story. First lesson: courage comes from unexpected places. What would someone see looking at Noor? A small woman, an artistic soul, a musician, a children's book author, someone who hated violence, who wouldn't even kill a fly. Definitely not a spy profile. Doesn't fit the hero template. But this misfit woman becomes one of history's bravest agents. What does this teach us? Don't judge people by their appearance. Real strength is inside. Real courage is in the heart. Second lesson: principles are stronger than anything. Noor was tortured for 10 months, kept chained for 10 months. She starved, she suffered loneliness, she tasted every kind of pain, and she didn't say a word, didn't give a single name. Why? Because if she talked, others would die. People she didn't know, perhaps, resistance members whose faces she'd never seen. But Noor was committed to something greater than her own life, her principles, and those principles kept her standing. Let's ask ourselves today, what do we value? What principles would we sacrifice for? I hope none of us ever faces a test like Noor's, but her example inspires us. Third lesson: identity is complex, and that's beautiful. Noor was of Indian origin, a British citizen, raised in France, a Muslim woman. She knew Urdu, English, French, even some German. East and West met in her veins. This complex identity didn't weaken her. On the contrary, it strengthened her. She understood different worlds. She could connect with different people. In today's globalized world, this is a very valuable quality. Noor's story reminds us that difference is not a weakness, but a richness. Fourth lesson: women shape history. World War II is usually told as a men's story. Churchill, Roosevelt, Eisenhower, Montgomery, generals, admirals, commanders. But women like Noor were there too. Women working in the shadows, risking their lives, making sacrifices. Hundreds of female agents served in the SOE, in France, Holland, Belgium, Norway. Many lost their lives, and most of their stories still haven't been fully told. The recognition of Noor is also a salute to all these nameless heroes. Fifth lesson: freedom has a price. This might sound cliched, but Noor's story makes it concrete. People die for freedom. People are tortured for freedom. People sacrifice their families, their dreams, their futures for freedom. Sometimes we take the freedoms we have today for granted. Noor's story reminds us these rights didn't come free. Someone paid the price, and those who paid that price shouldn't be forgotten. Now let's go to one final scene, to Dachau, today. Dachau concentration camp is now a museum and memorial site. Nearly 1 million people visit each year. People come from Germany, Europe, all over the world. Students, historians, families, tourists. They all come to ask the same question. How did this happen? How could humans do this to other humans? The gray concrete walls still stand. The iron gates are still in place. The Arbeit macht frei inscription is still readable. The barracks have been restored. The crematoria have been preserved. Everything has been left as it was. To remember, to never forget, so it never happens again. In one corner of the museum, there's a special section dedicated to resistance members and agents from occupied countries. And there, inside a glass display case, is a photograph of Noor Inayat Khan, a black and white photograph, a young woman, beautiful eyes, a slight smile. Below it, a brief description. Noor Inayat Khan, 1914-1944. British SOE agent, served as a wireless operator in occupied France, executed at this camp on September 12, 1944. Last word, Liberté. Visitors stop in front of this display. A few seconds, a few minutes. Some take a photograph, some look in silence, some cry, and some, perhaps, feel that Noor is still there, a presence whispering freedom, a spirit that never surrendered. Noor's body was cremated at Dachau. Her ashes were probably thrown into the camp's ash pits. She has no grave, no place to leave flowers, but her memory lives on. It lives in the bust in London, in the people standing at Gordon Square, in her story taught in schools, in every utterance of Liberté. And now it lives in you watching this video. If this story moved you, do this right now. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. That way we can discover together more heroic stories unearthed from the depths of history. Every like, every comment, every subscription helps these stories reach more people, and heroes like Noor deserve to be remembered. I want to confess something to you. While researching and writing this story, I also had emotional moments. Noor's courage, her sacrifice, that final cry of Liberté, these aren't just lines in history books. This is the real story of a real person, a woman with blood, soul, pain, and hope. And this story changed me. I hope it has changed you too. In our next video, we'll tell the story of another forgotten hero. We'll bring more names out of the shadows of World War II. Who is this hero? Let me give you a hint. This person is also a woman. She also worked behind enemy lines. She also faced incredible hardships. But her story is very different from Noor's. How different? Why different? You'll have to wait for the next video to find out. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Finally, I want to end with a quote from Noor. Actually, it's not Noor's words, but her father's. But Noor lived these words with her life, sealed them with her death. Never stay silent in the face of injustice. A simple sentence, 8 words, but hard to put into practice. Most of us see injustice and look away. Most of us see cruelty and stay silent. We don't want to disturb our comfort. We avoid risk. Maybe that's human nature. But Noor was different. She didn't stay silent, not until her last breath. Now I leave these words to you. What will you do with them? When you see injustice in your own life, how will you act? Will you stay silent, or will you raise your voice? It's not an easy question, and there's no easy answer, but Noor's story guides us. One woman, alone, stood against the world's most powerful army, and she wasn't defeated. She was killed, but she wasn't defeated, because death is not defeat. Defeat is surrendering your soul. Noor never surrendered her soul. Freedom, Liberté. This word is Noor's legacy. This word is her gift to us. Take it, protect it, and when necessary, you too shout it. I leave this question to you. Share your thoughts in the comments. How did this story make you feel? What did you learn from Noor? How can you apply these lessons in your own life? Let's talk. Let's discuss, because these stories live when they're talked about, they grow when they're shared, and they make us better people. Until next time, stay with history. And remember, freedom is not a word, it's a responsibility. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye. See you soon.